comment?
Okay, thank you, Leon. And my next guest this morning, Bob Self, the head winger coach. They closed out the season on Thursday night, losing to Bloomington Jefferson 28-14 in the semifinals up at Parade Stadium. And because of personal matters, I didn't get to talk to you, our weekly chat on our pregame show this past week. And so as you went into the Bloomington Jefferson game and you took a look at the Jaguars, taking a look at Georgia's scouting report, and then comparing it to what they did in the ball game on Thursday night, was there some changes there?
Well, no, Tommy. George, of course, is an excellent scout and has done a great job for us all year, and certainly did in our preparation for Bloomington. The only thing is that Bloomington's, at least for the times that we did get a chance to see them, never really had to use their passing attack against teams like, say, Owatonna and Edison in the previous games that we watched. Never had to use that passing attack to the extent that they were able to or had to use it in our game. If you recall, or the fans recall, in that ball game when it was 20-0, they probably felt that they were going to be able to coast it. And through our fan involvement and our kids finally waking up, I guess, in that second half, we put the pressure on and came back to 20-14. Now all of a sudden they got to find themselves a method to move that ball, and we set it up just perfectly. We kicked her down deep, and they had to go 80 yards, which we'd never have seen them be able to do in the previous games that we were able to watch them. They never had to go that 80-yard or 85-yard length to get a particular touchdown. Well, they did it on that night, and that's just a credit to them, I think, to be able to move that ball consistently without error and get some big third down plays. I think they had third down conversions that occurred in that drive alone that probably were amazing, and it took a great deal of effort on their quarterback's part and the receiver's part to get that third down and 7 or third down and 8, which occurred many, many times in that drive that they had going for them. So we feel no animosity towards anybody. We feel no disgrace to anybody in the methods that we ended up losing. Certainly some breaks hurt us, but I think our kids showed some of their character in the method in which they came back to make that ball game a very interesting one. We're very proud of them. We're very happy about our fan support, and I know our young men certainly deserved that support. Plus, after it's all over, made many comments about what had happened with the fan support all year, and they certainly are very pleased to have played in Red Wing High School.
Okay, too, you mentioned the character of these young men and the fact that they were down 20-0 at halftime. Have not faced a deficit like that all year. They were down 7 points to Lakeville and were behind, I think, in one other game during the year. But to be down 20-0 at halftime, come out and play the third quarter, the kind of third quarter that they did, has to show a lot for the character and the confidence of these young men.
Well, these people have made their niche in Red Wing athletics for many, many years, and they've always given the people the indication that they are very resilient and able to come from behind, and we've seen that happen in their underage levels of competition in many sports. But to put it on the line in a game like this and to show it to everybody that's watching what their, like you're talking about, their fortitude is made of, I think is very gratifying from the coaching standpoint, and has made this total season, obviously, one of my best in terms of appreciation to what they were able to do. And my hats go out to them as seniors, and to our coaches. Paul Schmidt probably had his finest night in that ball game against Bloomington Jefferson, just to come up with some of the things that we didn't have much to draw from. It didn't appear to, and he certainly drew on what we had going for us in that third and part of that fourth quarter.
Okay, one thing that kind of sticks in my mind, in my craw, I guess, first half, you're down 13-0 and driving. And apparently, from my vantage point, which was a long ways away and you were closer to it, a possibility of a pass interference in Mike Quist was not called. Unsportsmanlike conduct ensued on that play, and we were out of scoring range again. Possibly the turning point of the ball game. They turn around and score, and so you're talking 14-point swing there. What about that first half?
Well, how do you say that a team mentally is not ready to play a ball game, as it appeared we were not? They ran their opening running play for some 50 yards for a touchdown, and that doesn't happen to a Red Wing defensive football team. At least it hasn't happened. credit to Bloomington Jefferson again on the ability to come away with that touchdown. On the play that you're talking about to Mike Quist, I just think Mike, after the call was made, or wasn't made, if whichever side you're looking at on, I think Mike just told the official where to put his flag, and consequently he got the 15-yarder to add to our problem in that case. I don't blame Mike for that. I'm sure he had all the reason to feel that there was an interference call. It should have been made, as I felt. What that official saw or what he didn't see, we'll never know. I'm sure he's not going to go around acknowledging that to many people. But it was a time of heat from within, and Mike resorted to his method of handling that particular problem, frustration, whatever you want to call it, and the official then got a method of getting himself or the play off of his back and onto somebody else's with the flag, and I'm sure Michael just told him where to put the flag.
Okay, taking a look at the Bloomington offense, and especially that 82-yard drive, used up 9.5 minutes on the clock that put the ball game away, and Jay Anderson did a good job of rolling out Dan Grant, following in the footsteps of his father, I guess, an All-American end at the U a number of years ago. And he came up with several clutch catches on those third and long situations. Didn't Jay Anderson, I think 13 out of 19 in the passing department, a lot of that on rollout. Was he using something similar to maybe a moving pocket to keep away from the pass rush?
Well, he was giving us an awful lot of play action, which of course affects our linebackers. Our defense probably was not aligned correctly for their particular multiple formation. So we didn't really cover the potential receivers as well as those kids are capable of covering them had they been in the proper alignment. In reference to Jay Anderson, their quarterback, there were several times when we finally got some heat to him, but he's good enough, got quick enough feet just to maneuver himself around maybe 1 yard away from a potential tackler and give himself that additional second to deliver the ball. And heck, that's a nice football player, and consequently, we just didn't come up with that play. We were unable to get the kind of penetration through our defensive line that we've been able to get all year because of the methods that they used for blocking. Several times the people saw in that second half, they were able to come back from a holding penalty. They had to hold some of those kids to keep them out. There's no question about that, and they're very evident on the film. But I'm not blaming the officials for this. We just did not have ourselves properly aligned, and when you get home and you sit up till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning thinking about that, you come up with new methods of handling a situation like that. Unfortunately, is a quarter or so too late. We feel that even in a loss, you can learn, like some coaches say. In particular, the men you mentioned, Mr. Grant, feels that in a loss you don't learn anything. I disagree with that. That loss for us will give us methods now to upgrade our particular defensive coverages and defensive package, and in years to come, we learned a great deal from that particular contest.
Okay, we're going to take a break and then be back and talk a little bit about the Class AA playoffs. We're going to wrap up our season next week on Coach's Corner and talk about all conference and your seniors and prospects for next year. But right now, let's take this break, and we'll have more with Bob Selt after this. Head winger coach, and talk a little bit now maybe about the playoffs. The playoff system is going to change next year with Reading being in Class A, and they're meeting right now on that. We'll talk a little more about that next week, and the fact that some 8 teams now will be qualifying for the playoffs instead of 2 or 3. Bloomington Jefferson, of course, 28-14. Coon Rapids last night taking advantage of a lot of Moorhead turnovers to defeat the Spuds by a score of 12-7. And representing themselves in the Prep Bowl next Saturday night, Bloomington Jefferson and their chances.
Well, I think they're very good to excellent, Tommy. This is an excellent football team. They have an awful lot of tools, as our fans were able to see on our game Thursday night. They can rebound from a lot of things, but the one thing that hasn't happened to Bloomington is the fact that they haven't really had to come from behind a great deal. I guess you're going to have to figure out that they probably could have the chance of doing that, too, very well, because they do have an awful lot of tools, as I mentioned. I just think it's going to be a quality football game, and I imagine if there's football fans out there listening, They certainly would like to see that ball game in person, but TV will give them a break and put her on TV. It's a great day, and our kids are very sad that they're not in it.
What about, I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at Coon Rapids and the Cardinals, and what kind of squad do they have?
Coon Rapids is very large, reminiscent, I think, of, say, a Lakeville team that our fans might be more familiar with. They have great speed in the backfield. I think if they have a deficiency, it's probably in their defensive secondary, and that's where this Anderson boy can really do a job on you if you let him. And Bloomington, I've talked to their coach after the ball game was over with, Bruno, and he says that they throw an awful lot in their regular season games and have had to. And as that, they are an excellent team to protect the quarterback. That's part of their game. That's their game plan. They don't rush that much normally. And so if it gets down to a team having to cinch it, for instance, in the second half, or to come from behind in the second half, I think Bloomington Jefferson probably will have the better chance of doing that than, say, Coon Rapids.
And, too, running out of the double wing formation that they did just about all night that night, except then they tried to go to some ball control there. After you cut it to 20-14, they start running an eye a little bit and then switch back to the double wing. What I was very surprised with is the fact that the people that got out in front, especially out of the pulling guard positions, and also Carnell Hall and Eddie Rudzinski, and a lot of that stuff was coming from the other side, if you want to call it a counter, I guess, out of those wingback positions, and the fact and the speed that they got to the corners so fast.
Well, the speed is obviously an advantage for a team. We've seen that happen for our club over the last 3 or 4 games of the season. Speed certainly dominated against size, and we believe that, and we hope that our under kids believe that, and consequently will not look at the mirror and say, hey, I'm not big enough to play football. I think this team this year is certainly an indication that you're wrong. You can play football even though you might not be so big, and if you have the quickness and the speed, there's a place for you on anybody's football team. In the case of Jefferson getting their guards out, they have quick guards, no doubt about it. They're also relatively good size, in the neighborhood of 180 to 200 pounds, and still able to move. That's a nice football team. Their tackles are big by many standards. The receivers are excellent, and they use that particular aspect to get 4 kids aligned so they can get in the secondary in a hurry. That's including their tight ends and their wingbacks. Getting counters in there, that's their game plan too. If you notice, they had a lot of travel. I mean, they pull somebody on every play. And so we were aware of that, and George gave us a good scouting report, and having seen them ourselves once and on film another time, we felt we were very well prepared against the rush. Unfortunately, we hadn't been able to see an awful lot of their pass, and that did take us a little bit by surprise, I guess you could say.
Okay, you mentioned, too, All-Conference is going to be named next week, and so we'll talk about that. And what else are we going to talk about next Saturday?
Well, we're going to wrap up the season next Saturday, and by then we'll know who our All-Conference people are and possibly who some recommendations will be for this new setup, All-Metro and All-State, which is always there, and we want to certainly be involved in that because we feel we have some kids that deserve that situation. In the Minnesota Conference, the first-place team automatically will be able to select 6 all-conference people and some honorable mention people. So we're going to represent this football team as best that we can on Monday night up in the Rosemount area where the meeting will be held. After that, of course, then we'll know what the situation is and be able to report a little bit more clear to the fans. And speaking of the fans, I would be remiss to say nothing about them. Over the 9 years that we've been here, our fan support has always been good, win or lose. Certainly more than when we won, and certainly an exceptional support this year when we were winning as well as we did and as often as we did. Those games in the tournament against Hill Murray and, of course, the other night against Bloomington Jefferson, who could say how many people were there actually physically? People were coming from all over the place, not only Red Wing, but the surrounding area and suburbs of St. Paul and Minneapolis. I mean, there were an awful lot of people there. who were rooting for the Red Wing football team. And I think the kids really accepted that in the proper way and used it and acknowledged it and were very humble about it when it was all over with. When it was over with, the saddest moment came to pass, and that's when we were driving out of Parade Stadium and happened to see that big bubble shining in all its white lights up there, the dome I'm referring to. Well, as we got out of town and got that reception afterwards in Red Wing with the fire engines and the police car and the convoy of people, I think things came back down to earth and reality set in again. And our kids are obviously sad and will be sad until this thing is all over with on Saturday next week. But they'll always look back at '83, and it's not going to go out of their mind until they put them in a box someplace. And that I just hope to be around when that 20th year reunion comes up, and listen to the conversation that occurs during that time.
Okay, thank you, Bob. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, Tommy, for all your support, and the radio support has been excellent. And we did make a lot of believers, there's no doubt about that, and that was the goal that we set out in August to do. And each week, more and more came along, and we're certainly glad that they did, and I certainly hope we gave them a lot of entertainment during the Friday nights that were played and people went to watch and listen to.
Okay, and it's certainly an enjoyable year for my first year here, too. Bob Self, head winger coach, Red Wing, and we're going to wrap it up. Take a break right here, our last break, and be back and wrap things up here from Dibo's after this tab on.
Pizza from Dave's Pizza, area grocery stores, and Dave's Pizza is right there in the frozen food section. Loaded with 100% real cheese, lean sausage, or pepperoni in different sizes. Maybe you're planning a big party. Then call ahead to Dave's Pizza, and they will prepare special orders for you. Dave's Pizza on Plum Street in Red Wing.
Okay, we are back, and we're still in the midst of an injury timeout as we have a young Simley Spartans down near the goal line, and he's still being attended to. I'd like to remind you, the Wingers do have an open date next Friday night before returning on MEA week on Wednesday the 19th to take on the Northfield Raiders here at the athletic field. We'll be in action next Friday night with Wasioja Conference football, Zumbrota at Pine Island. So we'll see the Tigers and the Panthers in action. And that'll be at Pine Island, 7 o'clock start for the prep football preview, and 7:30 for the kickoff. Willie Rowan and his Pine Island Panthers have had a very good football program the last number of years with the Hoffman boys and company. And Ken Belanger and his crew going down to Pine Island to take on the Panthers, and we'll have that ball game for you next Friday night. Also on the 19th, of course, the Wingers Northfield here from the athletic field. And then on Friday night, October 21st, we'll be in the Middle Border Conference. Ellsworth traveling to New Richmond. Ellsworth and New Richmond. And yours truly, Tom Witch, along with Kirby Berg, will be on hand for that ball game up in New Richmond. And we'll get a chance to see the Ellsworth Panthers and also the New Richmond Tigers in a ball game in the Middle Border Conference. And then we'll close out the season on Thursday the 27th, Goodhue at Wanamingo. And on Friday the 28th, Red Wing at Lakefield. First and goal, Red Wing at the 1-yard line. Hands in tight as usual. McDowell off the left side to the goal line, and Pontley arms go up, touchdown. This time Brad McDowell getting in on the scoring. A 1-yard plunge for the senior fullback, and Red Wing now goes out in front by a score of 25-0. Brad McDowell with a 1-yard run after a Nick Holbert interception set that up. Then a personal foul against Sibley, put it down. First and 3 from the 6-yard line. Jeff Anderson picked up the first down, and Brad McDowell takes it in. And Greg Larson will come in. He's made the first one. He's missed the last two. One was wide, and the last one was blocked. And Doug Bowles is going to attempt will spot, and Del Roshan will try the extra point. And it is wide to the left. No good. Time out of the field with the score. Red Wing 25 and Simley nothing. We'll be back with a kickoff in 30 seconds.
The place to shop, that's right on top.
Corner Red Owl is the place to shop in Red Wing. Boneless beef chuck roast $1.19 a pound. Boneless arm cut roast is $1.39 a pound. Lean ground beef $1.39 a pound. And oven ready.
So the Wingers have put 4 up on the board. 4 touchdowns. 3 out of the 4 extra points have been no good. They lead 25-0 with 9:58 to go here in the third quarter. And Del Russian will be doing the kicking off, as Coach Bob Selt is now going to give a lot of the reserves a chance to play, and will try to spot as many numbers as possible and put out some of the kids that are getting a chance to see some action here in the homecoming game here in 1983. Lots of activities after the ball game. Big gathering at the Elks Club for alumni, fans, and friends. Of course, the student dance at the high school, and that'll be going until about midnight also. Carlson and Freeman deep back to receive this kickoff from Russian. Comes to the near side. Carlson, Troy on the move, out across the 25 to maybe the 28-29 yard line. And Simley will take over, first down and 10 at their own 29-yard line. And Mike Lesh remains at quarterback. Number 11 coming on. See if Kurt Freeman has returned to the ball game. And also check some of the people in the defensive unit. And Brian Walm has been out of the deep safety. Along the corners are Swenson and Mickey Michaels. On first play from scrimmage, on the handoff. Getting outside, nothing doing. Nick Holbert in on the stop.
Who carried that ball? 41?
And a new running back in there, a young sophomore. And Rozak on the carry. And a whole lot of people that were not on the original roster for Simley now getting a chance to play. A loss of 1 on the play, second down and 11. Mike Lesh on the pitch, back near side to Wendell, and he is dropped for a loss. Also back, may have gotten back to the line of scrimmage, but that's all. Jeff Wendell on the sweep to the near side, and he's back to the original line of scrimmage, but that is all. That is second down and 10. Donnie Schuster in on the stop. See Eric Furious out there on defense for the Wingers. Also, Tim Strews now in at a cornerback spot. Timmy Strews on the near side. Jeff Anderson now playing the corner on the far side. Paul Martin and McDowell are still the linebackers. Holbert and Schuster are the defensive ends. Third down and 10 from the 29. Mike Lesh dropped the pass, throws it on an attempted screen, no good. Very good pressure by Brian Walker from his interior line position as Lesh just got it off as he was being pressured up front by Walker.
Well, it was his third attempt for the second half. He's a -1 in passing, and they have I have him unofficially for 4 yards rushing the second half.
So fourth down and 10, and they're going to have to punt it away. And Pearson will be dropping back. Brian Walm and Jeff Anderson are the deep safeties at their own 40-yard line. Pearson just gets it off. Jeff Anderson signaling for a fair catch and makes it at the 42-yard line. And that's where Red Wing will take over, first down and 10.
Wingers ball, first and 10. Up to 48.
And let's check out the new offensive unit as they come out onto the field. And I see Brad McDowell, Chris Almott, and Jeff Anderson out there. Nick Holbert is also out there. See if he has gone to Doug Bowles at the quarterback spot. Yes, he has. Doug Bowles now into the ball game at a quarterback spot, replacing Chris Chalmers. Doug, 6 feet tall, 170, and a junior. Chris Almott and Brad McDowell in the backfield, in the deuce backfield as they go wing right. Doug Bowles, spin on the counter to Jeff Anderson, 45-yard line. Gets away from one man out to the 47 and still driving out to near the 48-yard line.
Jeff Anderson.
Now, Jeff's not a very big running back, but he certainly gives 100% out there. He really tries. He puts those wheels turning. He's not very heavy, but he's really a scrapper. He'll give you your best effort.
Pickup of 5 on the play, second down at 5 out to near the 47-yard line. This time, Brian Walm will be in the slot to the near side. On the handoff, Chris Almott to midfield and into Simley territory at the 48-yard line. Mike Bourne in on the stop for Simley. But not before. Chris Almott picked up 5 yards on the play, very close to first down yardage. They say it is just short of first down. It'll be third down and 1. Just short of the Simley 48-yard line. Again, Chris Almott on the carry. Brian Walm is the slot back to the near side. Jeff Anderson and Chris Almott are the running backs now behind Doug Bowles. Pitch back, far side, Almott cuts inside a block, 45-yard line, first down. And we have flags on the play.
Flag in the play.
Over on the near side, a long ways from the point of the attack. And it was thrown by the line judge. Illegal procedure, Red Wing, and that'll back him up 5, and that'll negate the first down yardage that Chris Ahmed had managed to pick up. And it'll be third down again, but this time third down at 6 at their own 46-yard line.
You know, Tom, it's nice to see Bob Sell put in some of his reserves this early in the game because, you know, Chris Chalmers hasn't been injured so far this year. After 5-6 games, he hasn't been injured, and we need, sometimes you get a guy at first play of a big game and you're out and you got to go with your second liner, so it's nice to get another quarterback in. Of course, we got some new running backs at those positions, and Marty left the game with about 216 or 217 yards rushing, something like that, and so it's nice to see some of these other boys get an opportunity to play under the gun.
Okay, Sean Gronsky also comes in at a wide receiver spot in place of Mike Quist on third down and 6. Back to passes. Doug Bowles rolling to the near side over the flat, and it's complete inside Simley territory at the 38-yard line. Chris Ahmed on the reception, dragged down inside Simley territory, and good enough for a first down for the Wingers. Doug Bowles hitting Chris Ahmed for about a 15-yard pickup down to the Simley 39-yard line. First down and 10 for the Wingers with 6 minutes, 17 seconds to go here in the third quarter. Wingers up comfortably, 25-0.
Nice pass by Doug Bowles. He laid the ball up there real nice. He did have Sean Gronsky deep, but he elected to go to Ahmed, and nice pass.
Doug Bowles on the counter inside. Chris Ahmed again, 5 yards off the right side of his offensive line. And a pickup of 5 for Chris. It'll be second down and 5 at the Assembly 34-yard line. And now Gronsky coming out at a wide receiver spot. Coming in is Chris Flom, 6 feet tall, 170, the junior. And now Greg Olson coming out at a tackle spot, replaced by Kim Niebling. And it's pretty much a whole new offensive unit in there now. Doug Bowles over center on 2nd and 5 from the 34. And on the handoff inside, gets across the 30, breaks out into the open. Is Chuck Witzke, and Chuck down to near the 15-yard line. Chuck Witzke with a good bunch of ball carrying. Chuck is 5'8", 150, and a junior.
Ooh. He looked nice. He looked like a nice runner there, Tom. He did a nice job, that kid.
Got inside the 20-yard line, almost 15 yards on the play, and a good enough for a first down. First and 10 at the Simley 20-yard line. Chuck Witzke, good job of ball carrying. Chuck Witzke and Brian Walm are now the setbacks behind Doug Bowles, as Chris Ahmed is in the slot. And back to pass again as Doug Bowles to the near side, throws it into the end zone. Big pileup near the goal line, and the pass is ruled incomplete. Pass intended for either Chris Flom or Chris Ahmed as he threw it into a crowd. Incomplete pass, second down and 10 at the Simley 20-yard line. This is Winger Football 83 on KWNG FM, 105.5 here in Red Wing, town which along with Bob Oliva. Red Wing with 2 touchdowns in either half. Marty Kelly the first 3 and Brad McDowell the final one. Tim Strues is now in the ball game at a halfback spot. Strues and Brian Walm are the running backs. Hand off to Tim Strues inside the 20 down to near the 15-yard line. Tim picking